Hello and welcome, team. It's your Captain Bashir Fadl as we continue our journey into Epic's development in Salesforce. Today, we're going to talk about a very important piece, which is classes. In object-oriented programming languages such as Java, Python, C Sharp, C++, in this case, Epics, we have the concept of what's called a class. And basically, a class, to oversimplify it, is just a blueprint. Suppose I want to create a vehicle. A blueprint of a vehicle basically says every vehicle must have a make, must have a model, must have a year. But then out of that class, I can create different objects, different vehicles. So Michael has a vehicle, and his vehicle is a Camry, a Toyota Camry 2023. That's his make, model, and year. Out of that class, I can create another object that has it's Sarah's vehicle, and it has, it's a Nissan Sentra 2024. So a class is basically that blueprint. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how can I create a class? Where do I create a class? And then how can I execute or run that class? And then we're going to talk and dig deeper into the syntax of Epic so we can understand classes and be able to create our own classes and excel in that field. And just a quick reminder that all the code that we're looking through and all the segments and the scripts that we're going through are available at Kinsey Tech. In my opinion, it's such a great investment in your pursuit of Salesforce administration and Salesforce development to visit kinseytech.com and register for the Salesforce Admin and Developer Plus Certification Exam course, because there you're going to find tons of subject material in administration and business analyst and in Epic's development that's very valuable to what we're pursuing here. All you have to do is click through the subject that you're interested in, and you'll be able to watch the video that's related to it. In some cases, there's also explanation in there in terms of verbiage, and the code that's explained in the video in some of those cases is also included. So if I find a trigger that's been explained and I want to try it out, all I have to do is just copy that trigger into my developer console, be able to run it and follow with the course as well. In addition to that, at the very end of the course, if you scroll down all the way, you're going to find a lot of certifications exams. In this case, for the admin, there's over 200 questions. All I have to do is click through it. You'll find the explanation. Once you're ready to take the quiz, you'll click on the quiz, and you have your multiple choice right there. If you get the right answer, it scores it as right. If it's wrong, then you'll be told why it's wrong, given the explanation right then and there. So it's a great value as you pursue administration and development in Salesforce. And if you like the material that we're going through right now, please don't hesitate to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So now looking at our company, people always create the leads and accounts and contacts, but they never create the opportunities on time. So a lot of times they forget to create it. So what we'd like to do is have it be automated. So we want to create a class that whenever you call that class, it automatically creates an opportunity for you. We want to be a step ahead and be able to sell more. So first, let's find the code to create the class. And then when are we going to call it? We're going to make sure that it always does that the time that we want it. So first, we're going to look at the syntax of creating a class. So here's a little bit of code without getting into a lot of syntax at this point, where we're creating a class, and the class is called create opportunity. And basically, once it's executed, and we're going to understand the code a little bit more, it's going to create an opportunity name of automated opportunity, a stage name of closed one, a close date, which would be whatever the timestamp is as of today. So what we're going to do is just copy this code. And now we're going to see a couple of things. And number one, that is, where can we create the class on Salesforce? And once we create that class, where can we run it from? Or where can we execute it? So let's take that journey together. In Salesforce, there's a couple of places where we can conveniently create our Epics classes. The first one is we go through Setup. And then within Setup, we can go and scroll down to Custom Code, and then Epics Classes. And then this is where we can click on New and create our class. In this case, we already have our code, so we're just going to copy and paste it and click Save. And if we do, we've just created our first class in Salesforce. Notice, we're not going to create it right now yet. If we click on Epics Classes, instead of New, we have the option to open what's called the Developer Console. So we can open it from here, or another way to create our classes and to get into the developer console would be to go to Setup. And right under Setup, we have the option of Developer Console that opens this pop-up window. And one of the ways we can create our class in the Developer Console is to click on File, New, Epics Class. We're going to put in the name, which was Create Opportunity. Click OK. We already have our code, so we're just going to paste it over. And that's the code. And we're just going to save all. And let's just go back to our original window. And if we were to refresh our classes, we will see that we created a Create Opportunity class. And that's our class right there. Now that we know a couple of ways of creating our class, how do we call? How do you run it? How do we execute it? So first we need the command that's going to be able to run it. So we're going to talk about what's called methods as well as modifiers in a little bit. But before we do that, let's see how we can execute the command. And as I said, we're going to get into the syntax in a little bit, but for now, we're just going to see what the command is to execute it. Create opportunity, dot, insert op, semicolon, and this will be our command to run or execute this class and create an opportunity called automated opportunity. So now let's go to debug, open execute anonymous window, paste our code, and hit execute. And just to see what happened, we're going to click on debug only. And let's just go to our opportunities. And let's look at all opportunities. And we could see, sure enough, an opportunity called automated opportunity has been created. So now let's just go back to our code and appreciate it for a minute. Why? Because normally I might forget after creating an account to go in and create an opportunity. But now I'm able to create a class, and through the class, every time I call that line of execution that calls the class, it creates that opportunity automatically for me. So it makes it easier. That's number one. But the number two is, when can I call it? Do I manually need to run this command every single time? And the answer is no. There's actually a few places where we can call it. So here are a couple beautiful places that makes our life easier. Every time an account is created, I want to be able to create an opportunity automatically. So what do? I have a couple of options. Option number one is a trigger. We can actually create a trigger, and in that trigger, we'll put the line of code upon whenever the accounts are being updated. So after or before they're being updated or created, inserted into, then we want to be able to execute this. So literally every time an account is created, this trigger is going to kick in and create the opportunity for us automatically. So that's an example of where we could execute our code. Another one is through what we call buttons, links, and actions. So we can actually go in here and create a new action or a link or a button that whenever it's created, so on the account page, when you're on the account page, you can click on it, and basically it runs that command for us and creates that opportunity automatically. So you can have on your account page a button that says create new opportunity. We click on it and executes that line. So as we have seen in this simple example, how our class could save us a lot of effort. So now what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and create new. And hopefully you guys can see the code a little bit better now. So we've seen how with this code, we can avoid a lot of manual work. We can make sure we never miss creating an opportunity once an account is created, or whatever the code is supposed to do. It's a lot more automated. It's a lot more cleaner. Reusability is, of course, one of the biggest things about, or one of the four big things about object-oriented programming. So we're capturing that with a class that we created. So we can call it within a trigger. We can call from a button and other places, maybe through automation as well. But now we want to understand the basic syntax of a class. We want to look at the basic syntax and have an appreciation, understanding of what makes a class. So let's remove this code out and put another code segment. So in its most basic form, we can see how we create our class. We're going to see the terms private, public, global, and then, some other options that we have: virtual, abstract, with sharing, without sharing, and then the class name, and additions to it. And then between the braces is going to be the class body. And now in this definition, we're using a combination of access modifiers, sharing modes, class name, and class body. So digging a little bit more, and again, everything after the two backslashes is a comment. So we're putting some comments so we can read this a little bit more clearly. In the first line, we have what's called the class definition and body. Next, the second line, where we have my value is equal to 0, and we're defining that as an integer variable. So that's called a class member variable. Similar with my string, and we're defaulting a value there. Having it as a string, that's a class member variable. And in this case, it's a public static. And then after that, we'll have our method definition and body. We can do some calculation. In this case, my value is equal to my value plus 10, and then we're returning a value. In our initial example, we saw the words private, public, global. So what are those? Those are called access modifiers. The first one is private. So if you declare the access modifier as private, then this class will be known only locally. And you cannot access the class outside of that particular piece. By default, classes have this modifier. Next is public. If you declare the class as public, then this implies that this class is accessible to your organization and your defined namespace. Normally, most of the Epix classes are defined with this keyword. Next is global. If you declare the class as global, then this will be accessible by all Epix codes, irrespective of your organization. If you have method defined with web service keyword, then you must declare the containing class with global keyword. So now let's examine what we call sharing modes. The first one is with sharing. This is a special feature of Epix classes in Salesforce. When a class is specified with sharing keyword, then it has the following implications. When the class will be executed, it will respect the user's access settings and profile permission. Suppose a user's action has triggered the record update for 30 records. But user has access to only 20 records, and 10 records are not accessible. Then if the class is performing the action to update the records, only 20 records will be updated to which the user has access, and the rest of 10 records will not be updated. This is also called as the user mode. Next, sharing mode is without sharing. Even if the user does not have access to 10 records out of the 30, all 30 records will be updated as the class is running in the system mode. That is, it has been defined with without sharing keyword. This is also called the system mode. The third sharing mode is virtual. If you use the virtual keyword, then it indicates that this class can be executed and overrides are allowed. If the method needs to be overwritten, then the classes should be declared with the virtual keyword. And then the fourth sharing mode is abstract. If you declare the class as abstract, then it will only contain the signature of method and not the actual implementation. In the next session, we're going to talk about methods, which is very valuable in terms of interacting with our classes. Hope you guys will be back. Again, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to go into the Kinsey Tech course so you can see the entire script there. All the code is out there. You can copy and paste it. Makes your life much easier. We're looking back to your feedback and see you in the next session. Thank you.